Hello guys, welcome to A Day with Dom. Today we're talking about how to do rock chip repair. This is a chip that was on this windshield that I replaced on an S10. So I'm just going to use this to make a short video on how to do rock chip repair. I minimize my drilling because of the lack of need for it. You don't really need to drill on everything. Like this brake here, it's crushed up in the middle. It's got a good open hole. I know it's connected. I mean, I can look and see that I'm gonna have a successful repair here, so I'm not gonna drill it. Okay, so what you want to do first is clean your area, make sure that it's clean. One I use is called Tri-Glass. The reason why I like this one is because it is very fast. There's one thing I like about chip repair is that I can be in and out, and you make triglass.com. It's a good bridge. It's very plain and simple. The only replacement pieces you need are these little O-rings right here, and those are cheap. Plunger that has also a little O-ring there, so you can set that to the side. Okay. Of course, I got my drill with me, and I got my low drill bits. These low carbide bits. Let me show them to you. These little carbide bits. They're made especially for glass. You can buy them online. I got my resin pit filler, so they call it pit sealer, but this is more thicker than my resin. This is my resin, so it's UV thin resin. So this stuff is cured by the sun. So when it's really hot outside and I'm in a direct sun while I'm doing my repair, I'll put a towel over my repair area so it doesn't have direct sun. A must-have, and you may not think you're gonna need it, but you will need it, is a UV light. This one's also made by Tri-Glass. It just takes AA batteries, and you just turn it on when you start the repair to get this thing nice and warmed up and charged up. If like in a day like this, I would probably need it, because if you can see, it's gloomy outside. It takes a lot longer to dry, so this would work great in that, or like if you're in a garage or something. So when I like to do those, when I put the light on, I'll cover the light with a towel, because the less natural light you have and the more artificial light you have, the artificial light is not suffocated by the natural light, thus making this work a lot more efficient. I mean, it sounds weird. You would think light plus this would work better. It don't work that way. You either have all this or all natural light, or else you just cross each other. It just, for some reason, it's just weird like that. All right, Bud. You ready to start the repair, Bud? All right, he's ready. I'm ready. All right, we're gonna set up right here. So what we want to do is we want to wear gloves. This stuff's nasty. You want to center this plunger or cylinder, whatever it's called, over the center of the brake. Lock it into place, making sure these are raised up so it doesn't hit the glass first. You want this to be locked in first. Center the brake over the base of the bridge there, so the center of the crack is right in the middle of the little hole. Okay. So now we want this to be level. Okay. So we're gonna look at from this angle and using this to level this to be flat to the glass. Now you don't want this to be too tight. Okay, you don't want it to be too tight to where it breaks the glass ahead of time. You just want it to be maybe half a turn or so, to where it's just not too tight, not applying too much pressure. Because once you put your resin in there and you pressurize it, it's gonna affect the brake. So when you let off, the crack could come back, and you don't want that. Okay, so we got that set up. We're gonna add about 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you want. If you want to get crazy, add more. If it's a big brake, you want to add more. Okay, you want to kind of lubricate this a little bit. So if you have some glass cleaner, or if you want to use some of the resin itself to get a resin off of there, and kind of lubricate it a little bit, works better so it doesn't get jammed in there. So what you want to do is you want to always hold on to the base of the bridge here. You always want to hold on to the base. You don't want this to move around. You don't want this to spin back or forward. You don't want it to get tighter, you want it to get looser. If it gets looser, your fluid's going to come out. If it gets tighter, you can break the glass. And so we're going to hold on to this, and we're going to feel for the pressure to build up inside. And I can feel the pressure building up, and I can already see that with the pressure that I'm applying, it's already flowing into the crack. It's already starting to flow. And you want to always be watching what your brake is doing, because it could start to want to run on you and you want to back off, okay? Or it could not be doing anything and you want to apply vacuum, which we're going to do next right now. So what we're going to do now is, since we have some pressure on there, we have pressure, okay? We're also going to do vacuum. So this particular bridge, when you back off, it does vacuum. When you screw it in, it applies pressure. So we're adding pressure, we're pulling a vacuum, we're adding pressure, we're pulling a vacuum, we're applying pressure. Now you don't want to add too much pressure, and you can tell you're adding too much pressure because what it's going to want to do, it's going to want to bulge out and kind of like puff up from the bottom, because it has so much pressure that O-ring is going to want to push out. Okay, so we don't want to put too much pressure. And back off. And see, this is the thing with this bridge, is that it's not like the other ones where you have to pull it back and lock the little vacuum in place. This one, you actually do it manually, and it's really fast. Right now I'm not going fast because I want to show you and talk to you about what I'm doing. But so I'm going to apply some pressure. I got pressure in there, and I want to go down pretty far so when I apply vacuum, the vacuum works better. So now I'm going to do some vacuum, and as I got some vacuum on, I'm going to take my lighter. And this is kind of like the same idea that plumbers use when drawing their solder on the pipes. So they heat from the bottom and they apply the solder on top, and then the solder just sucks its way to the heat, so it's drawn by the heat. So it's really the same thing. So what we want to do is, if the tip of your crack is where my finger is, you want to put the lighter in front of the crack and heat that area. So what it's going to do, it's going to draw the resin from here, and it's going to pull it to the tip. So you don't have to get the brake really hot, because that's sometimes what people do, is they'll just get the whole thing really hot. You don't want to do that, because with the heat, the glass contracts and expands and contracts as it cools down, as it heats up, it moves. So you don't want to do that. You just want to draw the chemical into the crack. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat up around the outside of the crack, and it's windy right now, of course. Here we go. So we just want to heat up just the edge of the brake. Of course, it's really windy, but it's still working. And what I like to use the tip of the flame, because the tip of the flame is actually, stop it. The tip of the flame is actually the hottest point of the lighter. So you just use the tip of it, and you kind of just gently heat up those sections of where the cracks are. Okay, so now that we heated that up, you always clean the inside of the customer's vehicle, because you don't want to walk away and forget that you left a big old black mark inside of the car. After you heated it up, you're going to want to apply more pressure, because once it's nice and warm, it just reacts a lot better, and it flows better, it's thinner, and you apply a little more pressure, you add more vacuum as needed. See, with this brake, I'm done. I mean, I can pull this thing off and I'm done, good to go. Now, could I still see some little cracks? Could I still see some areas that need more resin? I'm going to keep working with it. So I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure, do a little bit more vacuum. I'm going to pressure it down if to need be, and put a lot of pressure down, heat it up with pressure. It really depends on how the brake is reacting to what you're doing. In this case, I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. What are you guys doing? Hey, what are you doing? None of that. They're gonna be getting married soon. Anyways, okay, so I'm ready to go. This, you know, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I can see that it's full. It's ready to go. Now, you don't want to just pop this off. This, it's under pressure. It's gonna just squirt everywhere. Okay, so you want to take the pressure completely off of the bridge, the plunger, back the plunger all the way out. Okay, so it's out, but I'm gonna leave it in there because I don't want it to fall out when I grab it. So I just leave it spun on a little bit, so when I grab it, I don't want it to fall out. Okay, now before I release that, so you see that I took this plunger out, and it's not reacting different. See, it's not, the fluid is not backing back out. And see, and that's why you don't want to apply too much pressure, is because you don't want the plunger. See, I'm going to back off on whatever this, I'm gonna call it the base. I'm gonna back off a little bit of pressure off the base, and my crack is not coming back. Why? Because it's not, my repair is not being affected by how much pressure I have on my bridge, because it'll do that, because you'll have it'll affect the open, or whatever you want to call them, the veins or the spider legs or whatever you want to call them. All right, now that I'm ready to take off this bridge, I'm going to grab my Mylar square. I'm going to have my square ready to go before I even take this off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to the glass to kind of have like a little wall. So when I pull this bridge off and the resin starts running down, I'm going to catch it with this. Okay, so I'm going to let it off, open it off, let it drip out, use that, put it over it just like that. So it's gonna be completely flat, and it's not gonna move anywhere. So now that you can set this to the side for a second, put it on a towel, put it on something, and what you want to address this right away. So right now there's not a lot of sun, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my UV light, okay, and I'm going to put my light right over the top of it. And like I said, being that it's gloomy outside and I want to use its full potential, I'm going to take a towel, I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to completely cover it over the top, just like that. Okay, so now, if you look from underneath, it's getting a really high dose of UV light, and that's what you want. I'm going to wash this out with denatured alcohol, rubbing alcohol, use a little brush in there, you know, flood it in there. Some people like to stick this inside of a little container full of alcohol. You can use glass cleaner, you can use whatever. You want to just consistently wash it out every time. You don't want to let it dry in there, or else you're going to be having to soak it overnight, you know, to wash it out. So I'm going to go ahead and wash this out while this dries, and I'll be right back. Alright, so this thing is pretty much ready to go. All it needs is 3-4 minutes underneath the light, and it's good to go. I'm going to take my razor blade, always get a fresh brand new one. Okay, you're going to peel off the Mylar strip, which you can reuse, put it back in your box. And now a lot of people will sit here and just scrape off this whole thing. I don't like to do that, okay, because you sit there and waste your time. So I'll cut back all the excess. I'll cut back all the excess, okay, up until really close to the brake area, and then I'll sit here and do it flat, directly flat on the glass, okay, and shave off the rest of it. It's not going to scratch the glass, okay, so you do it directly on top until it's nice and flat with the glass, okay. Ones that look a lot worse and that I can spend more time on, but I want to do a quick video on that. If you have any questions or comments, please ask. I will respond to them. And if you like my videos, subscribe. Like my videos. I will be doing more and more videos on how-tos on auto glass. Thanks for watching.